Greetings, book lovers. Here we are for another episode of Michael Romeo Talks Books, and today I am showcasing my 10 favorite nonfiction books that I've read over the years. I don't read a whole lot of nonfiction, which surprises me because when I do get a good nonfiction book, I really do enjoy it. But here are my top 10. And without further ado, let's just jump right in and start. First book is a wonderful book called Longitude by Dava Sobel. It's a 1995 book, and it is about how people figured out how to measure longitude, which became necessary for navigating and many other things. Now, it sounds like it would be a really dry book, doesn't it? A book about the discovery of how to measure longitude. It is an edge of the seater because there were a couple of different schools that were battling to be the one that makes it, the one that figures it out. And it really is, it's a race against time in some places, and the book just reads like a suspense novel. It totally is engaging and engaging. It's engaging. And that's really the word that we need here. It's an engaging book, and it's not very thick. It's a thin book. But again, totally riveting, and I highly recommend it. Next up is the Pulitzer Prize winner John Adams by David McCullough. Came out in 2001. Another one that reads like an intense novel. I learned so much about John Adams reading this book, stuff I never knew, never learned in history class, and it's a very almost intimate look at John Adams and how he thought and what his life was like and his priorities and the stuff that shaped his life. And it is a wonderful read, absolutely wonderful read. And again, just like with Longitude, it reads like a novel. It just, you get going in it and you just find yourself flipping the pages, finding out what's going to happen next. John Adams by David McCullough, Pulitzer Prize winner. And then we've got a fun little book called The Story of English. It has 3 authors, Robert McCrum, Robert McNeil, and William Cron. It came out in 1986, and it is exactly what the title says. It's the story of how the English language evolved. And it's very interesting. Lots of fun trivia in it, and it takes us from, the influx of Saxon and Celtic and all these other influences that fed the creation of the English language, and brings it up to today with the different colloquial accents and verbiages, and it's a fun, entertaining book. As I said, full of lots of trivia, lots of historical facts that, again, you don't learn these things in school. And I think if this book was taught in high school English, a lot more kids would be excited about taking English class, because it is really that interesting. And then we have a book from 1979, The Gnostic Gospels by Elaine Pagel. Like The Story of English, full of great trivia. It takes it from the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it has the effect that these new gospels that previously had been unknown how they affected religion, how they affected people, how they affected society, and it's very interesting. I did go on after reading the Gnostic Gospels to read some of the Gnostic Gospels, and I found them very difficult to understand. So I mean, pull no bones there. There's some stuff in there that's pretty deep. But Elaine Pagel's makes it all very accessible, and it's an entertaining, solid read. Again, not a very thick book, but a very good book. And then the oldest book on my list comes from 1959, a fascinating book called The Longest Day, and it's about the D-Day invasion at Normandy Beach. And it's a deep, intense book about a deep, intense period in history. And if you've seen the movie Saving Private Ryan, it's that event. And it's not an easy read, because some of it is disturbing and intense, but it is a worthwhile read. Very good read. And then we've got Galileo's Daughter. Again, this one's by Dava Sobel, who wrote Longitude, which is the first book I mentioned. And this is a wonderful book about the relationship between Galileo and his daughter, who was a nun. And it centers around their correspondence, letters back and forth to each other. And anybody who knows the history of Galileo knows that he bumped heads with the Catholic Church, and then here's his daughter, who is not just a member, but a figure in the Catholic Church. And it's a wonderful, intimate look at a father and daughter relationship that spans differences and finds connections. Really good book. Dava Sobel did a wonderful job with it. It was the first Dava Sobel I read, and why I went on to read other books by her. And then from 1988, we got a book called Patriots by A.J. Langguth. This is about the Revolutionary War and the key figures who were involved in the revolution, the uprising, the carrying through of the war, the Declaration of Independence, and it's portraits of these people, and a really good read. Lots of great facts in it, and it's about another piece of history that I've always been fascinated. I've always been fascinated with the Revolutionary War era. Probably having grown up where a lot of it took place. And Patriots is a really good book. Again, like these others, I strongly recommend it. They wouldn't be on this list if I didn't strongly recommend it. So, and then for a totally different kind of book, from 1981, we got Danse Macarbe by Stephen King. This is an overview of the horror genre, where it's involved with books and movies and television, and it's just an exciting book if you love the horror genre. Even if you don't love the horror genre, it'll probably give you a lot of insight into it. And it's full of fun facts and trivia, and Stephen King's way of delivering. It's a really good book, fast read. And then one that tangled my brain, it's The Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Comes from 1988. And there were parts of this book that made my brain hurt. I'll admit it. a lot of parts where I went, wow, that's fascinating. Don't understand it, but that's fascinating. But it's a brain exercise, this book. It really does take some stick-to-itness to get through it, because it is so deep and so complex. But it is a fun read, and it's a rewarding read. And then finally, a third book by Dava Sobel. Like I said, I read Galileo's Daughter, and then read Longitude, and went on to read other books by her. And this one is The Planets. And it is a little tour of the planets in our galaxy. How they got their name, who discovered them, what their atmosphere is like, just an overall view, a thumbnail view of every planet. And it really is a fun, interesting book. So that's it. That's my 10 favorite nonfiction books. And I'd love to know if you've read any of them. Just, let me know in the comments if you've read them, what you thought about them. What are your favorite nonfiction books? I'd love to know that, because I'm always looking for more good nonfiction to read. And the one thing I steered away from on this list was memoirs and self-help books. Two things I steered away from: memoirs and self-help books, because those are really a genre all their own. So these are just literally nonfiction books about events or a topic, without going into memoirs and self-help. And they're all great books. I know many of you would enjoy them, and I look forward to hearing what y'all have to say about them. Thanks again for visiting my man cave, where I have my books and my movies and my music, and this is where I hang out a lot of the time, and it's a great place. Thanks for being here. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye.